Very, very good evening, everybody. Warm welcome to our latest Pick and Pay Winemakers Table, and welcome to wine enthusiasts from all over South Africa. We've got a really great crowd in this evening, joining us virtually, and set for a really, really cool night, if both anything we've had before is to go by, but also the quality of the wine and food we have in store. My name's Dan Nicol, and it's lovely to have you all. I have, amongst other things, a wine show called Dan Really Likes Wine that Pick and Pay is a very proud partner of, and that gives me a really, really difficult job, and I hope you'll all sympathize with me, because every single week I have to drink dozens of different South African wines and sample them and get through them, and it's really, really, really hard. And after 11 years of marriage, my wife still doesn't believe I have a real job, and as she's a lawyer, I struggle to argue with her. What it means out of all of that is I get to appreciate some extraordinary wine and get on a weekly basis to reinforce a belief I hold very strongly, and that is when you combine both the value for money you get in South Africa, there is no better in the world that's we're in a very, very lucky space, and all the more so this evening, because tonight we get to drink something that is seriously cool, and I would suggest, but also for more story. And I won't steal too much of our winemaker Arlene's thunder, but I'll give you a little bit of a background in just a moment. Before I do that, though, a couple of things to say. One of them is a big thank you to Pick and Pay, the wine club, to Pick and Pay Online for putting this evening together, getting your deliveries to you, getting your wine to you, getting your food to you, for what is an evening that's going to not just give you an education on a particular South African wine, but also through Chef Jonathan, allow you to learn how to make a few dishes that are remarkably quick and simple once you've got Jonathan's guidance, but make you look like an absolute rock star chef once you have learnt how to put them together, and you're then ready to dazzle people at forthcoming dinner parties. So it's a really fun night in that respect. It's also a night where you get the chance to share your experience. So we'll ask you to please post away on social media. Stick stuff up wherever you can on your preferred social media platforms. Please use the hashtag PNP Wine Club, and also use the hashtag Vilafonté, and we'd love to see what you're getting up to. We'd also love to see what you're getting up to as it plays out. So if you're happy enough to do so, please keep your cameras on. We will mute you through the evening, just so there aren't too many sounds of fire brigades dashing in to put out fires in kitchens. But if you can keep your camera on, it just gives us a bit of a community feel as this evening plays out. And it's an evening that plays out, as all of these do, with terrific food and terrific wine, while the food and the chef remain constant in the form of Jonathan. The wine changes, and this week we have the official wine of Father's Day, and that is seriously old dirt. And there's a pretty good chance you've had a look at the label, you've done some research, you know a little bit about this space. But the very simple version, seriously old dirt, refers to the terroir, refers to the soils in which the grapes are grown, from which this wine comes. And they're some of the oldest soils on earth. These soils were going before Rian Kruiwagen started on television. That is how old these soils are. And that means you've got a real sense of heritage, a real richness that comes through into a wine that sits in the Vilafonté family. Now, Vilafonté Series M and Series C have won extraordinary awards around the world. Last year at the IWSC, the International Wine and Spirits Challenge, Vilafonté won Best Red Wine Producer in the world. And it wasn't long before that, before the individual wines, the C and the M, each won a host of accolades. Now, these are great wines. They are also rather expensive wines, and for good reason. They're absolutely brilliant, and they are well worth the money based on what they deliver. But we can't all afford a bottle of Vilafonté Series C or Series M, and that is where the seriously old dirt comes in. It is a much more accessibly priced wine, but it still speaks to that same story of Vilafonté, which is rich, rewarding, luscious red blends that are absolutely to drink, and particularly as we head into the slightly colder months. So what you have tonight is a chance to drink a wine that you'll find on your shelves at Pick and Pay that is not the Vilafonté Series C or Series M, but is very much part of the same family, and as Arlene Winemaker will tell you, speaks to a very, very similar story. So enjoy your wine, enjoy the food that goes with it, and the mastery that Chef Jonathan will guide you through. Please tag away and post wherever you are able to, and enjoy the evening. I know some of you are joining us for the first time. Many of you are return visitors to our winemakers table. I know you had a good time in the past. I know you will again this evening. Please enjoy, post away. We'll be keeping a close eye on your kitchens through the videos. Have a great, great evening. And once again, a big, big thank you to Pick n Pay's Wine Club, Pick n Pay Online, and to Vilafonté for putting tonight together. And also to all of you for joining us celebration this Thursday evening. So I'm going to have
All right, welcome everybody to the Pick n Pay Winemakers Table in association with tonight Vilafonté. Yes, thank you, Dan. It is a very special night today. It is the Father's Day edition. We've got an incredible wine to taste this evening and an incredible winemaker as well. Arlene, welcome and thank you very much for being here this evening.
Thank you for having me, John. I'm excited to be here.
Fantastic. We're going to cook some incredible food. We're going to taste some amazing wine. Before we get going, I'd love to kind of run through a few little things and thank obviously a few guys that have put together such an incredible evening. You would have received a beautiful reusable, recyclable bag full of goodies and full of little prizes and little bits and pieces. You'll find in your bag some really great coffee from Pick n Pay, some Lindt chocolate, obviously all the ingredients to make 3 incredible dishes. So while we're doing that, I'd love to introduce Arlene and find out a little bit more about Vilafonté and maybe a little bit more about the wine that we're going to taste this evening.
Yeah, so I'm the winemaker for Seriously Old Dirt by Vilafonté.
Yeah.
And as it alludes, this is a seriously cool wine that we will be having this evening. And Vilafonté is a small little winery out in Stellenbosch. Yeah. Our estate is situated in Paarl. And we've just recently celebrated 25 years.
Incredible, yeah. 25 years, that's amazing. That's awesome. So that is going to be obviously a really, really special one. Obviously, we're talking about Father's Day coming up in the next couple of weeks as well. So we've got a few really great little goodies. As I said, Pick n Pay Wine Club have also got this really nice little present. We've got some great coffee, a little bit of Lindt chocolate as well, which we'll be tasting. But what we're going to do today is all about food and wine. We're going to talk about pairings, how things work together. We're going to find out a little bit more about this incredible wine, a little bit more about the story of that. And we're going to be making you guys into master chefs as well. So I want to make sure that you guys are ready in your kitchen. We've got 3 dishes which we're going to make today. We've got a little bit of a starter, which is a cheese board. We're going to move on to a toasted naan. We're going to end off with a really decadent dark chocolate brownie as well. So very important, guys, when you're in the kitchen, let's get everything ready. A little bit of mise en place, as they call it in the kitchens. You got your pan, frying pan. That's all going to be on your stove ready to go. We've got all of your ingredients. You can unbox them, take them out of their packets, get them all ready. We're going to start off with the cheese. But while we're doing that, I'd love to find a little bit more about this incredible wine that we're going to be tasting this evening.
Yeah, so Seriously Old Dirt is a red Bordeaux blend, as Dan has said in the beginning. He kind of took a little bit of my thunder saying all my stories beforehand. But yeah, so it's a Bordeaux blend. It's mainly Cabernet Sauvignon. Yep. And then it has some Merlot, some Malbec, and some Cabernet Franc. Okay. So it is a nice full-bodied red wine, very plush, very delicious. Should be accompanying all of our dishes very well this evening. Good. So yeah.
All right, awesome. Yeah, so you said it's a blend, but it's very driven by Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yes, it is, as most of us wine people would say, Cab is king. And it does really well in the South African climate. And us as South African winemakers, we've been making it for a while now. So we've gotten a little bit good at it. For sure. So with our blend this evening, we love the Cabernet Sauvignon that we've produced and that we've made. And so like the Merlot, the Malbec, and the Cabernet Franc are sort of the salt and pepper to our Cabernet Sauvignon. Yes.
Amazing. And you said that you're getting quite good at it. You've obviously spent quite a bit of time overseas as well, and I believe also in Bordeaux as well.
Yes, I have. So I was very lucky. I had the opportunity to go to both California and to France, and I worked at Opus One and at Chateau Mouton Rothschild, and these are both brands known for one single blend of Bordeaux. I see. So like I've happened to just be perfectly placed now to make really good Cab.
Amazing. Well, you know what? We've spoken a little bit about it. We've seen that you guys are getting all your things ready. I think it's almost time that we open this wine.
Yes, let's
All
open
right.
up some good wine and taste
So
it.
obviously when we open the wine, it's nice, you know, sometimes it's good to let it breathe. So if you do have a decanter, you could use that as well.
Yes, absolutely. Granted, with our Series C Old Dirt, as Dan had mentioned, our Series M and Series C is bigger, fuller, but with our Series C Old Dirt, it's a Bordeaux blend that is more accessible, so it is a bit friendlier. So if you don't have a decanter, not to worry,
fine.
Still very, very easy, nice.
Open the bottle, drink it. That's the way I like wine. Amazing. All right, guys. So perfect. While we're doing that, I want you guys to kind of, let's start thinking about our first dish. So very different to this one for Father's Day. Think about maybe what you're going to be doing on your Father's Day and maybe putting them together with maybe a little bit of a cheese board with your wine. And we've got this fantastic cheese from Klein River. It's the Klein River Havarti. It's actually one of my favorites. It's a semi-hard cheese, very, very nutty. It's got quite a good like umami flavor. And I think that it'll go very, very well with the wine. So you can open it up. And we've also given you these little boards, which are perfect for a small little cheese board as well. Each person's got one of those. So you can open up your cheese. And when putting together a cheese board, it really is about adding whatever you'd like. But it's obviously very nice to kind of have a few contrasting flavors. So in terms of contrasting flavors, we've also got a little bit of onion marmalade. And of course, talking about textures, a little bit of these beautiful Melba toast that are available at Pick n Pay. All right, well, look at that. That is a beautiful color, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I would encourage all of those watching this evening that, you know, red wine, it's red. But, you know, when people talk about the color of wine and there's certain nuances that you have in a look at, what's very nice to do and actually very cool is that if you really want to see the color of your wine, you should actually tilt the glass a little bit like that. And preferably have a light or white sheet underneath it. And in that way, you can actually see the true color of the wine.
Sure. I mean, and there's a lot of different hues when it comes to red wine.
Yes, absolutely. And that's also like what happens when wine ages. So when a wine, typically speaking, when a red wine is young, it has a lot more brighter, vibrant colors. And as it ages, it turns to sort of a more nuanced with like a kind of an orange rim on the edge of the wine. So that's also an indication of the age of the wine.
So obviously younger wines, much lighter, brighter.
And typically speaking,
Okay, interesting. I'm sure that you can see it beautifully there as well. And in the background, that beautiful label as well. So what sort of characteristics are we looking at here in terms of the nose?
So the nose would be a lot of more darker fruit flavors coming through, like your dark berries and your cherries, a little bit of mulberry. But that's also layered in with like a nice clove and anise that's there as well. That's sort of the bouquet that you're getting. Granted that everyone is different. Everyone's perception of wine is different. And I think that's absolutely what makes wine so interesting. So those are usually typically the flavors that I'm getting. And then once it enters the palate, it's going to be a lot very round and fruity, and it hits all sides of the palate.
Can't wait. All right, guys, so let's start putting together our little cheese board. We've got our beautiful Havarti over there, and if you want to cut it at different angles, go right ahead. It's nice to kind of give it a little bit of a different shape. So I normally just cut my cheese up at different angles, making sure that it stands, get a little bit of height, get a little bit of different flavors there. And then very simple. It's all about simplicity, really. Let's talk about really, really good ingredients. Don't overcomplicate things. A little bit of a cheese, some really nice onion marmalade, which you can just pop onto the side. There we go. And a little bit of texture. We've got our Melba toast as well. Very, very simple. Very, very simple. And yeah, I mean, when we're talking about wine, specifically red wine, cheese is a little match made in heaven, isn't it?
No, absolutely. I mean, the thing that makes food and wine pairing so compelling is that it's all about the texture.
It is.
And I'll be saying that a lot through the course of this evening because we've got 3 different meals and we'll be enjoying this wine with each of them. But especially with the cheese, because cheese in its intrinsic qualities are layered and textured and have creaminess and saltiness. And you've given sort of a rundown of its flavors earlier, but those are qualities that we can associate with wine as well. It has its own different qualities. And I'm sure that once tasting it, these flavors will either be a perfect complement or they will clash, which is great because that's all about the experience.
Completely. I totally agree. So we were talking about mulberries, talking about some really nice berries and fruitiness, and you really can taste that. So I want you guys at home, once you've poured it, if you haven't already, I won't blame you if you already drank half the bottle, but please have a little bit of swirl, have a look at that beautiful, vibrant red color, and that's very, very intense, really, really fruitiness on the nose. Hey?
Yes, absolutely. And just to explain to our audience that, you know, the practice of swirling the glass is basically because you want to open that bouquet. If you can imagine, the wine has been in a bottle and it's quite closed. And now you've opened it up, you put it in the glass, and you're swirling it to get a little bit of oxygen in there to open up the flavors, and then you're bringing it to your nose and you're smelling it. So the first moment of tasting wine is actually through smelling it. Because you're building up a picture in your mind of what you're going to taste. And then when it follows through on the palate, that's what makes the wine really good.
Completely. Well, can I get stuck in here?
Absolutely. Please let me know what you think.
It's amazing. It's very, very smooth, very, as you were talking about, the kind of real, like full mouthfeel.
Yes, absolutely. So what I found is that when it enters the palate, it hits straight in the middle. And then it lingers there for a little bit. But all of those flavors, all that fruit forwardness that I spoke about on the bouquet actually translates onto the palate.
And it really does.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, because we're talking food, we're talking wine, I think we should have a little bit of a taste. I'm going to cut you a small little, I'm not going to make you take a huge chunk like that, but I will cut a little bit. It's always nice to have a combination of flavors as well. So a small little bit of cheese onto the cracker. There we go. And also, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of the onion marmalade onto it. You can have a taste. And it really is about, as we were talking about pairings, try things out. You know, this isn't the only cheese that'll work. You know, there's obviously a lot more sort of, there's a softer cheeses. There's a lot harder cheeses when you're talking about Parmesan, softer cheeses when you're going more sort of like Gouda. I know that Crane River have an amazing Danbo, which is great, and the Stanford is incredible as well. But this is probably one of my favorites. It's a nice in-betweener, sort of good umami flavor, nice nuttiness, semi-hard. And yeah, I've loved it. And I think that with this wine, it also has that creaminess, which I think that the wine kind of coats the palate quite nicely as well.
Absolutely. I'm actually tasting, because I mean, you've given me the whole stack. So, so the cheese with the onion relish and the cracker, those three different textures combined with the wine is actually quite beautiful. The onion stands a bit apart, and the creaminess and the richness of the cheese is enveloped by the wine. So it's really a very good pairing.
Good. Well, as we said, it's all about trying and experimenting as well. Pick and Pay have got an incredible range of wine, as also an incredible cheese range as well. So get experimenting, make something different. Father's Day is coming up. I'm sure that all fathers would love a little bit of a cheese board, as well as a couple of bottles of the Vilafonté as well. So it's time to treat your dads, guys. All right. So yeah, I mean, you know, when we were talking a little bit about obviously swirling the glass, I took note of this most beautiful glass that we have here. This is the kind of wine glass that I absolutely love. It's very, very fine. It's very thin, but also it's not your normal shape. It's quite a different shape. What kind of wine glass is this?
Yeah, so we actually call this a Bordeaux glass.
Okay, specifically Bordeaux glass.
So specifically made by Drizzle.
Okay,
for drinking Bordeaux wines.
Wow.
And every wine actually has its own glass.
I didn't know that.
Yes, because in actuality, when you're drinking wine, where the wine falls on your palate is your perception of the wine.
I see.
So with this wine, like I said to you earlier, when you're tasting it when you smell it, because you're building up that perception in your head, and then you're tasting the wine. So this specific glass gives you the full experience, because you're smelling and you're tasting, and everything is happening in your olfactory system all at the same time.
It's amazing.
Yeah, no, these glasses are a gem. Just lucky I don't have to clean them, because they are that delicate.
They're very, very delicate.
But again, that attests to the experience of drinking with this wine, because it's so thin that it feels as if there's nothing between your mouth and the wine.
Exactly. That's what makes it nice. And so, I mean, are there other, you said that there's a wine glass for every single wine.
For most
For
wines.
most
like,
wine.
let's say all the kings of wine.
kings
so
of
like
wines.
a Chardonnay glass.
There's a
or
Chardonnay glass. And
Pinot
what would
Noir.
a Chardonnay glass be?
So a Chardonnay glass would also be a very broad bottom-based wine
Yes.
glass, and then it would come up and it would continue to be rounded, but a little bit of tapering at the end.
Sure.
But again, that full experience of when it hits your palate, it hits
Yeah.
every part of your palate, and your nose gets the perception as well.
It's interesting. So I would imagine then maybe something like a Sauvignon glass would be a little bit thinner. So it kind of
Yes.
goes straight in because,
Absolutely.
am I making sense here?
No,
So
you're
it would-
absolutely right.
It's right. So like Sauvignon Blanc is normally a little bit of a sharper wine, a little bit more
Yes.
acidic, and you'd want to taste that in the inside, the middle
Yes,
part of
the
your,
middle part of your mouth.
because the acid, if you start putting into the outside,
Yes.
makes you kind of feel a little bit,
Yes, because then
Yeah.
the acid actually interacts with the proteins on the
Yes.
side of your mouth.
yes,
Whereas you don't want that because it's sharper. Whereas
Exactly.
with these wines, which are fuller and
Yes.
rounder, the full experience of actually coating your entire palate is more, it's a more hedonistic
That's
experience.
amazing. I love that. I really do. And that's amazing. And guys, I hope that you have enjoyed that first little pairing that we've done. Please make sure as we go throughout the evening, it'd be amazing to see you guys and what you guys doing. So keep your cameras on, and please do also take photos and post to social media. Please use the hashtag PNP Wine Club and the hashtag Vilafonté as well. We'd love to see your creations, because as Dan mentioned, that there will be 5 lucky winners at the end of the evening who will win 200 Rands worth of Smart Shopper points as well. So take photos. We'd love to see what's going on. I can see you guys here. I've got my computer here as well, so I can see what's going on in the kitchen. You guys look like you're doing an amazing job in the kitchen. So enjoy it, and yeah, we're going to have a great time. So we've obviously spoken a little bit of the glasses. I really want to know, I mean, I'm looking at this bottle.
Yeah.
Number one, it looks incredible, but the name, seriously, Old Dirt, it's not normally something that you would find on a traditional old bottle label, but it's really, really catchy.
Yeah, no. So our visionaries, our founders of Vilafonté, Dr. Fulfries and Zalmalong, they had found this hidden gem basically on the bench of the Simonsberg Mountains out in Paarl. And they went along to the property, and whilst they were studying the property for vine growing, they discovered the soil. And Vilafonté, which actually the name of our farm comes from Vilafontés, the soil.
I see.
And the soil, like Dan said in the intro, it's like 1 million years old.
Wow.
So it is quite old. And Phil, in true American style, with a quintessential accent, picked up the dirt, the ground, and was like, yo, man, this is some seriously old dirt. And it just kind of stuck. And so we've pegged it, and it does work because it is paying homage to the soil that the vines are grown on, which is giving us this incredible wine.
And really, I mean, so when you say like millions of years old, we're talking probably like oldest in Southern Africa.
Yes, we are. We're
really?
Oldest in Southern Africa documented soils. Yes.
Amazing.
There's nothing older.
Yeah, and so this is obviously that you're not talking like, because obviously there's old soils which are at the bottom of, you know,
these are literally soil on the top, and they've actually found some cutting tools used by pre-Homo sapiens on the soil surface, which means there was no sediment, that it's basically virgin soil that they found.
Incredible. And this is the soil that Vilafonté old serious dirt is it's been grown in. Amazing.
Yes, absolutely.
What a lovely story that really is. Okay, amazing. So guys, as we were saying, we are going to be making you guys into some master chefs at home. So now it's time to get cooking. We've got our second dish, which is an incredible sort of component based dish, something which we would really sort of encourage you guys to get involved in. You've got, I'm sure you've got, there's maybe 2 of you. We want to make sure that you guys are all good. So make sure that you get your pans on. We're going to start basically toasting our naan bread. Very, very simple. These beautiful naan breads are available at Pick and Pay. And they can be used for so many different things. We're going to make it almost into a bit of a flatbread. So what we're going to do is we're going to toast it. So you get your pan and put it on the heat. We're going to melt a little bit of butter into it, and we're going to toast this off before we start adding quite a few different components. We've got some really nice copper brezola, which is a cured beef. We're going to be topping that also with a nice sort of onion jam. We've got some shavings of Parmesan and some fresh pear. So the combination of that, and we're talking about layers and textures, is unbelievable. So while you guys are doing that, go get your pans nice and hot. Pop a little bit of butter in there. Don't burn it. We just want it to kind of melt. I'll give you a little bit of a few moments to do that. And while we're doing that, we're talking about layers. We're talking about the soil that's incredible. And one of the things that has caught my eye when looking is this beautiful label as well.
Oh, well, this is sort of the nerdy part of me that I'm going to explain now. So this is actually a cross-section of a soil profile.
It's amazing.
And
it's textured, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very textured. I would encourage everyone, if they grab their bottle and just run your hand over the label, and you can kind of get that textural feel of the label. And it's sort of to give you an idea of what we would kind of be thinking when we putting our hand in those seriously altered.
Yes.
Yeah, so
I mean, it starts off at the top with some the topsoil, then it moves into something which is more sort of gravelly,
yes.
And then it looks like there's almost shale underneath there.
Yes, absolutely.
Is that shale?
Yes,
that's supposed to be shale.
That is supposed to be shale, and then a little bit of but like this obviously isn't the exact.
No,
thing,
of course, but it looks very interesting.
Very good representation.
Yeah,
because there's obviously lots of different soil types.
Yes,
but we pay homage to Vilafonté.
I like it. Yes. I like it a lot. I really do. All right, guys. So hopefully you've got your pans on. Let's put it to a medium heat, and we're going to start toasting our naan bread. So I've got this little induction hob. It makes a little bit of a noise. So excuse if there's a little bit of a buzzing that's going on. But I'm going to pop this on, and I'm going to put our garlic butter into the pan. Just this, we basically just added a little bit of garlic to some butter, and that's really quite nice when you guys are toasting anything in the pan. Butter is our friend. We love butter a lot better than oil in my mind. And basically what that's going to do is it's going to give the naan bread a really nice sort of golden caramelized bottom. So while we just melt that off, we can start really thinking about these different components that are going into the dish and why we've kind of chosen them. You know, we've got really quite different flavors here. We've got our brezola, which has got quite a sort of salty flavor. We've got our sweetness that comes from the onion marmalade. We've got some really nice umami flavors that are coming from the Parmesan, and that freshness, which is coming from the pear, which I really like, that kind of that contrasting sort of different textures, different flavors. So you've all got our naan breads, as I said, all available at Pick n Pay. Every single ingredient is available at Pick n Pay. We're going to pop that into our pan, and we're just going to give that a nice toasting. You can turn it over and do the other side once that gets nice and toasted. But as I said, guys, if you've also got any questions, we'd love to answer your questions. Fire away with us. You can use the chat box on your Zoom account. Just fire away a question to us if it's about food or if it's about anything wine related. I'm sure that Arlene, the expert, is going to be able to handle that. But please do ask questions. We'd love to hear from you as well. So now that's in the pan, you can hear the butter is just bubbling away nicely. We're going to give that a nice toasting. Have a look underneath already. There we go. Nicely toasted on one side, and that's the butter. I'm sure during your time in France, you would have known that butter is king when it comes to cooking.
Oh, absolutely. Bread and butter and wine. This is how I went through a harvest over there. And, it still amazes me that the French are also skinny. But yes, butter, bread. Yes.
I know.
And
butter and bread and wine. Yes. I know. I spent a bit of time in France myself as a chef, and we went to a braai once, and I said to them, have you guys ever had garlic bread? And they were like, no, we've never had garlic bread. And so I made this garlic bread, and they were like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing. I'm like, it's a baguette, it's garlic, it's butter, and it's parsley. Like, how could you guys not have put this together yet? Yeah. Good job. No, that is the combo for the French. So all nicely toasted. And we're going to pop that onto our board. There we go. I'm going to turn that off. And you'll smell that nice sort of good garlic. I'm going to just remove this so it's not in our way anymore and pop this behind. There we go. There we are. Pop that over there. All right. So now it is all about building our dish. Okay. And we've got a lot of different components, but I'm going to run through it with you very, very slowly so everyone can keep up. And we've got our garlic naan. Hopefully you guys have toasted it nicely. And then we've got our pear. So what I want you guys to do with your pear is we're going to slice it in a little while, okay? So get your pear ready, get your garlic naan ready. I'm sure that you guys are almost up to speed. But while we're doing that, I think it's another time to have another sip of our beautiful Bordeaux blend.
Absolutely.
And we talk about blends, and it's interesting to me as a chef that about blending, because it really is about almost creating like the beautiful, perfect recipe.
Yeah, no, blending is sort of the artistry of a winemaker, and that's where we're very lucky. That's where we kind of get to put in our own personal flavor and taste.
Yes.
And it is very much like being a chef, because we've got different components that we've cultivated from wine growing, basically in the vineyard, all the way through when we do the alcoholic fermentation and then barrel maturation. And then at the end, we've got all of these different components, ingredients, if you will, and we blend them together to create one product.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting, and we'll touch on it a little bit later, because I'm really interested about how the blending sort of process works, and when you start mixing it and when you start doing the adding little bits and pieces. But while we're doing that, I'm sure you guys probably have caught up by now. And what I want you to do is I want you to place your toasted naan onto your board, if you will. And now we're going to start adding our little bits and pieces. So we've got our pear, as I said. We've got our onion jam. We've got our little bit of our Parmesan. We've got our walnuts, and we've got our honey. So these all kind of play quite nicely together. And we've also got our Drizzle as well. We've got so many different things in here. It's amazing. All right. So we're going to start off, I think, should we start off with our onion marmalade? So very, very simple onion marmalade. Taking an onion, we've got some red onions. We cook it down. We've added some nice spices to this as well. So we've added some nutmeg. We've added a little bit of star anise. And we've added a little bit of black pepper, which I think would also go quite nicely, because I know that on the nose there's this really nice sort of spiciness as well.
Yes. No, absolutely. I mean, all of those qualities that you've spoken of, I've literally said that in the beginning. So we've got our spicy characters, we've got our fruitiness, and I think that will work really, really well with the wine. Perfect.
There we go. So we're going to pop that on there as well in little dollops. I think it doesn't really matter. You can spread it out if you want to. I'm just going to place a few or 5 little dollops of there. It doesn't have to do a huge amount. We can just add a little bit. We've got a lot of different components coming on here, so we can just add a small amount on it as well. There we go. And then if we want to move a little bit onto maybe our next one, we've got our Drizzle. Drizzle is one of my favorite cured meats. It is beef, and simply it's like a very kind of wet biltong, basically. It's Italian, they call it, it's Italian cold meat, but very much so it's a cured meat, nice saltiness as well. So we're just going to pop that onto that as well. And what I do is I just kind of turn it around a little bit. I make it into like a little rose. I position it into each corner, 1 or 2. If you want to slice it up, you can slice it up as well. But it is really about being quite rustic and doing anything that you want with this. You've got quite a few little slices in here, so be as creative as you want, position it in any way that you want, and just sort of building on those flavors as well. So we've got our Drizzle, which has got our kind of little bit of a saltiness, and we've got our sweetness coming from the onion jam. Right, now I'm going to teach you guys how to slice up your pear now. Beautiful pears this time of the year. Beautiful. I mean, look at that. That is It's stunning. Available at Pick and Pay. Different types of pear. You got green pear, and you get these, which are slightly more sweeter. Beautiful. So what I want you to do is we're going to cut a cheek of the pear. It's called a cheek, which is basically like the little butt cheek of it. Basically, you cut that side off. There we go. Exactly that. So you can see it's this little cheek. I'm going to place it down like that. All right. And I'm just going to slice lengthways along that to create little moons, little half moons of the pear cheek. There we go. Slice it through. Look, as I said, this dish is a very nice rustic dish. It's all about the flavors. It really isn't necessarily all about the presentation, but I've cut it like that, and then I've fanned it out ever so slightly. You can see, there we go. I've just fanned it out there, and I'm going to use that in its little form to place around my garlic naan. So there we go. I'm just going to place that into it. 1 or 2. There you see. And that's it's going to give it a really nice fresh element as well. So we've got our saltiness, our freshness. 1 or 2 more over there. Place it around because you are going to pretty much cut it up, and it's nice to have a little bit of a flavor on all of it. Okay, so I'm going to let you guys sort of catch up there. We've got our naan, we've got our onion marmalade, our brezola, as well as our fresh pear. And all that we've got to do now, guys, is we've got 3 more little components, some nuttiness, a little bit of sweetness of the honey, and we're going to top that off with some Parmesan. But you guys can catch up while you're doing that. As I said, please do take photos and ask us any questions that you'd like. It would be nice to hear from you. I can see you guys are doing a great job in your kitchen. And I'm sure that you are enjoying this beautiful wine.
Well, you say it's rustic, but nothing about that presentation looks rustic to me.
You can plate any way you like, any single way you like. It is a really nice dish to kind of do on a larger scale if you want to.
Yes.
You can use a pizza base and you can top it up with a whole bunch of different things. And as I said, really, when it comes to food and wine, it's about experimenting. See what works for you.
Yeah, I don't actually think that you can go wrong with any food and wine pairing. You know, wine is just something that accentuates the flavors in food. And so it would be a cold day in hell if somebody really got a food and wine pairing wrong, you know, because but both food and wine is so subjective, and you can choose what you like, and more often than not, it will definitely work. So I think the one thing that maybe certain people are scared of or shy away from is actually doing food and wine pairings, because it's a little bit intimidating. What do I know about wine? It's not that complicated at all. If you like it, if you like to drink it, and you like the food, it will probably work well together.
I know. And it's also about the setting that you're in as well.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. As long as you're doing the cooking and I'm doing the drinking, that's the best setting for me.
We're a good combo. All right. Good stuff. Okay, guys. So as you said, if you probably have caught up, we've got this nice looking dish here. We're going to start finalizing and putting the last little things on. We've got some nice little walnuts, and walnuts work really, really well with pears normally. And so that's a good combo. It's also quite nice with the cold meat. So a little bit of a scatter of some walnuts. You can chop them up finer if you'd like, or you can keep it as it is. I'd like it just as it is. And then also, once those are on, we're going to finally do a little bit of the honey drizzle. So we've given you guys a little bit of this tiny little piping bag. And this is going to be a honey drizzle that we're going to slowly drizzle from the top all over it, and it really just gives it a little bit of a sweetness. And I love the kind of the sweetness versus the saltiness of the brezola, as well as the nuttiness. So it works really, really well. I'm just going to put a small amount on, not too much to make it too sweet. I still like to keep the dish savory, but it just adds a little bit of something as well. And then to finally add it off, we've got this beautiful little block of Parmesan cheese, which you guys can grate over it if you've just got a normal grater, or if you've got a peeler, it's quite nice to do some shavings as well. So I've got a peeler here, got my little block of Parmesan, and I'm just going to very, very lightly shave over some shavings of Parmesan on the top. And that also just adds a nice amount of sort of a little bit of savoriness, a little bit of umami flavors. And that is a dish of king and queens. So really, really nice. You'll taste it. I'm sure you'll really, really enjoy it. So here we go. I'm going to hand this over. You guys can see your final dish. As mentioned, please take photos. I'd love to see what you guys are doing. I'm going to place that in front of Arlene. I'm going to remove her the little cheese board. And I don't know how you're going to eat that, to be perfectly honest with you.
Also don't know how I'm going to eat it.
I might have to chop it up. But yeah, please, guys, when you are done, love to see what you're doing. Take photos. As mentioned, 5 lucky winners are going to win 200 Rands worth of smart shopping points. And all you need to do is post it to social media using the hashtag PNP Wine Club, as well as hashtag Vilafonté. So it's time to do some tasting.
Let's do it.
Let's just do it. Right, so I'm just going to cut the end off here.
Yes.
There we go. There we go.
Perfect. Thank you.
There we go. Cool. So the same thing with you guys also at home. when you are doing a sort of pairing, it's nice to have a little bit of a sip. I think first off, really get that aromas going in the nose. Take a bit of a good sip. Let it coat your mouth, and then take a bite of the food and actually see how the flavor sort of changes once the second bite goes in.
Yeah, I think very good point. First have the wine, let it coat your palate, and then have the food. And you will definitely notice that for those of you who already started eating before the sip, the wine does change the flavor. It accentuates some characters in the food and it lulls others. But I'm sure this will be a very good pairing.
Good. Well, I hope you enjoy it. And I hope you guys are enjoying it home as well. As I said, all the ingredients are available at Pick n Pay. And I'm sure that Pick n Pay online will also help you deliver it straight to your home as well. So yeah, try it out. It's also good to have a little bit of a party with some of your friends and just try a few things out, get experimental when it comes to food. It's really good. So, all right. And that is exactly what we're going to be doing. Really, really good wine pairings here. Okay. Did you enjoy that?
I did, and I must admit, the pear actually for me a bit. I love the texture of the pear. I love what it did with it. I love that the wine sort of coated it a little bit, and I quite enjoyed it. I was a bit tentative, I'm not going to lie.
Pear and red wine.
Yes, that was a bit odd, but it actually worked really well. And then that walnut also, really good, but that's also like an intrinsic quality of the wine.
Yes.
So that also stood out for me, which I quite enjoyed.
Good. Yeah, I think that some pear, obviously the freshness of the pear in the whole sort of components of the dish quite works well. You know, one thing that pears do work well with red wine is obviously a poached pear. And poached pear really works well when you would put it into some red wine with a little bit of sugar, into like a sugar stock, and you'd cook that down for a long time, and you end up with that red wine poached pear. You can actually peel it, and then all of that red wine gets absorbed into that pear, and it's a beautiful wintry dessert.
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
We should do that next time. All right, amazing. Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, we were talking about blending, and for me, it's so exciting. And there's different sort of methods of blending. I know that you were saying that there's kind of what you call field blending, and then
so blending for any winemaker happens at various stages.
Sure.
Certain winemakers choose to do what we call a field blend, and that's basically when the grapes get harvested, that they'll put all the grapes together, and then they'll start alcoholic fermentation on the onset, and it gets blended then. For myself personally, we will do all of our harvesting separately. Then we do tank ferments, and then still keep them separately, and then we'll even age them separately. And so my blending only happens right at the end, when I've lived with the wine through its lifetime, essentially, and then decide what are the qualities that I am looking for in this wine that I'm going to make this seriously old dirt with. So my blending happens right at the end. And
so it really is like tweaking just at the end. And how much, I mean, would vintages change throughout the years? So if you have this is a 2020 vintage, is that correct?
Yes, so this is currently 2020. The previous vintage will have different percentages of all the grape varieties. So it really is dependent on what the wine is showing us in that particular year after it's been aged separately, and how we feel that we're going to make this quality product year on year. And that's actually the beauty of blending. So even if you're starting off with something that's not quite there yet, you're able to, through its lifetime, take it to where it needs to do, and then blend it together and get a very good product at the end. Yeah,
that's so interesting. I think it really is a lot like cooking. It's a lot sort of about, like, you have 65%, or it was 86% Cabernet Sauvignon, and you're like, I'm going to put in 0.2% or 3% of Malbec because I feel like it needs a little bit of pepperiness or whatever it might be.
Absolutely. When we do the blending processes, and like you say, we're adding these things, we are looking for, does the wine need structure? Does it need a little bit more acidity? Is there something that's going to contribute more fruit forward flavors? It all depends on where we're going to, what we want to achieve, and how we're going to do that with the tools that we've been given.
Absolutely. So interesting. All right, amazing, good stuff. I hope that you enjoyed our middle course of our wine pairing. We're going to move on to dessert, the fun part of the evening, and the dessert. So very, very similar. to what we've spoken about before, but this wine obviously has quite a good sort of like dark chocolate notes. Is that right?
Yes, it does. I think, you know, the one thing about chocolate or cocoa and wine is they both go through similar processes.
Yes.
They're both fermented.
Yes.
And so that's why I think they work so well together.
Sure.
The thing that people want to maybe take a note of is that, you know, especially when you're doing chocolate and wine,
yes,
you want to, with this stuff, you want to get the weight right.
Mm.
If you're having a lighter styled wine, maybe don't have a overly sweet chocolate.
Sure.
And if you're having a fuller, richer wine, also a darker chocolate.
Yes.
And so you want to do weight with weight. And that's usually what's complementary when you're doing a wine and chocolate pairing.
Well, that's very interesting to know. That is very interesting to know. Okay, amazing. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our last dessert, which is our chocolate brownie. And I hear that Mike Ratcliffe's the owner of Vilafonté, his wife's favorite dessert is a chocolate brownie?
Yes, absolutely, because it's so simple in its beauty, but it's delicious and a winner every single time.
A winner every single time. Amazing. So what you guys will see inside your boxes is a beautiful dark chocolate brownie. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it in half and place it onto my board. You do have one of these each, so this almost you can have another bit of it tomorrow as well. And then we're also going to start topping it with a few fun little things as well. We've got some salted caramel, really nice sweetness, but it's also offset really nicely with that salt. And then we've also got a very nice dark chocolate little drizzle as well, and a few little nuts as well. So take your piping bags. We can start off, I think, with your salted caramel and just snip the end off that. There we go. And very simple, as I've mentioned, you can really just play quite nicely with it. You can do a drizzle straight over it if you'd like to, or you can do some dollops. I like to get it all over there. There we go. And then simple enough as well. We've got a little bit of our dark berry compote as well. And very simple, a compote is you can buy some frozen berries from Pick and Pay, pop them into a pot, add a little bit of sugar if you'd like, a little squeeze of lemon juice, and then cook that down almost into a jam, and then you just blitz it up and you end up with this quite nice sort of pouring consistency. Very simple. Same thing here. You can do a few little dollops on the top if you want to, or you can drizzle it over the side. I like to drizzle it over like that. And that also, we've chosen that also really to complement this wine with its sort of rich dark berry notes.
Yeah, I think that all of the layers, well, the caramel and now the compote that you've put on the brownie will definitely, those flavors will work really well with the flavors in the wine.
Good stuff. And then also when we always talk about sort of cooking, we're talking about textures, and we've spoken about this a lot, and we will always add something that adds a bit of a crunch. If there's no crunch in a dish, sometimes it's a little bit flat. So I always love to add a little bit of a crunch, and what better sort of crunch than a little bit of toasted almonds. So it's very simple, the same way as before. Just open up your little packet of these toasted almonds and just give it a little scatter over the top. And there we go, is a beautiful dessert, something that you guys can do at home for your friends and family. Bake a little tray of brownies or buy your brownies from the bakery at Pick and Pay. And you can just pop a few little components onto it and actually make it a little bit of a chefy kind of restaurant-worthy dish. So I'm going to pass that over to Arlene. Very simple as we're doing it. I'm going to actually just cut you a little bit as well, so then I end up with a massive mouthful over here. There we go. And you can try that. As you said before, take a nice sip. Let it move around your palate. Taste all those beautiful notes, dark berry, fruity flavors, and then take a little bite of that brownie. And you can tell me what you think about that. But I'm sure that it'll work quite well with the sort of richness of the dark chocolate, as well as the sort of crunchiness and the fresh berries. It's quite nice, that salted caramel as well. It's not too overly sweet, is it?
Absolutely. And I love the actual texture of the almonds.
Yeah.
You really do feel the crunch. And having had the wine just before the brownie, actually the spicy character in the wine actually came out, and the sweetness became accentuated. It works really well together.
Yeah, I think it does. And it's something that, as I said, you guys can do at home. All these dishes are super simple. It's about having the confidence just to try things out, get experimental, buy a couple bottles of wine, white, red, rosé, whatever it might be. But we are heading into winter, so it's the time that we start drinking a lot more red wine. Hey,
absolutely. And the Seriously Old Dirt is really a wine for any occasion.
Yeah.
So heading into winter now, I know I'm stocked up.
I'm sure you are stocked up.
But yeah, no, it is. It's a nice full-bodied wine that anyone can enjoy.
Yeah, and also it doesn't only have to be enjoyed with food; it can be enjoyed on its own.
Absolutely, because it is our more, let's say, accessible wine that we are producing, and we make it, you know, with the notion of drinking it younger than our other wines. So yes, absolutely, you can have it on its own. It doesn't have to be paired with any meal.
Good. And we're talking about dark chocolate as well, how well this worked. I just want to thank Lindt also for putting this incredible little dark chocolate into the boxes as well. This Lindt dark chocolate and wine, we're talking about pairings, we're talking about the way that these things work together. What better way than this beautiful little dark chocolate? Maybe you guys can savor this and give it to your dad on Father's Day as well. And Pick n Pay have also dropped on some beautiful coffee beans for you too. Pick n Pay have got a really great range of coffees. This is the espresso blend, but there's a whole bunch of different blends as well. Please go in and try them. They come in obviously the 250 gram, the 500, as well as the kilo bags as well. So try that. Also, Father's Day, brew him a nice cup of coffee in the morning, a little bit of a Lindt chocolate, and then maybe, and most certainly, no, maybe not in the morning, but certainly as the day goes through, a nice bottle of the Vilafonté as well.
It's not in the morning, it's 5 o'clock somewhere in the world.
Somewhere in the world. Exactly. No, it's been incredible. And I must say that this is probably one of the most really enjoyable wines that I've tasted. Really sort of just a really good tasting, delicious wine.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you actually said that, because I think my plain objective when making Seriously Old Dirt is just to make a yummy wine.
Yeah.
I call it a second glass wine, because when I've had the first glass, I need to have the second glass.
Absolutely. No, I think that's important. And I think that, you know, that's what Pick n Pay Wine Club has done, is that they've made so many different wines accessible to everybody. You know, they've got some incredible specials every single month. They've got 25% off a whole bunch of different wines. And just obviously, I'm sure that you guys have signed up, but if you haven't signed up, please do become a member of the Pick n Pay Wine Club. They've got some incredible deals and monthly deals. And obviously within your packs, you've been really treated today. You've got your stopper, you've got all of your beautiful food and stuff. But not only that, you are also going to receive and have received your 100 Rand voucher off any wine online. So please do go and use that. We'd love to find out what wines you're drinking. And of course, 10% off this beautiful wine. I must say, like, this has probably been one of my favorite red wines that we've tasted over the time. But it has been a really good evening, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed it as well. I know that, Arlene, we've spent a lot of time talking about blending, and it's been really great evening.
Great. I'm so glad, and I'm hoping somebody could have learned something new about red blends today. And no, it was a really great experience. Thanks for having me.
Good, absolutely. And we'd love to also see what you guys are doing. I'd love to see also who has been the winners of our dishes, of our social media as well. You guys please have probably hashtagged and used the hashtag Vilafonté as well as the hashtag PNP online. I'm sure that you have seen, it's nice to see what you guys are doing. So we do have a couple of winners, and each of those winners are going to receive 200 Rands worth of Smart Shopper points. I've got it, and the winners are Greg Hetcher. Fantastic. There's also another winner who you got. It's called Baitsa, Baitsa. Would you say it like that?
Yes, I think I would.
Baitsa.
Baitsa, yes.
Baitsa, congratulations. Michelle van der Pfeiffer, congratulations. Also 200 Rands worth of Smart Shopper points on their way to you for taking some excellent photos and posting them as well. We've got the fourth one, which is Siggy Shaw, congratulations. And Elvina Snell Fortune, congratulations on that as well. And yeah, we just obviously love to thank Vilafonté for providing some incredible wines for you. Want to thank Pick n Pay Online for delivering those boxes to your home as well. And also to obviously the guys who have popped in these beautiful things. Thanks very much to Lindt, and thank you very much to Plain River, and thank you very much to Pick n Pay for these beautiful beans as well. And I hope that you guys had an amazing evening. take your boxes as well. That is made out of recycled bags, so it is environmentally friendly. And yeah, let's hope to see you next time. The next one will be on the 7th of June. We've got an incredible winemakers table there as well. We're going to be doing 3 different wine farms. We've got Lamotte, we've got De Grendel, and we've got Sarensburg, all talking about Shiraz. So please join us for that. Thank you, Arlene, again. We've had an incredible evening, and I hope that you guys have a really good evening.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Till the next time.